You can only sell from who you are on the deepest level. Any deviation from this, you get pain because you're living a fake life. When you deviate from who you truly are, you are quite literally faking it. You're pretending to be someone that you're not. So the universe or God or whatever you believe gives you the feedback that, hey, this isn't you. So in terms of sales is what I teach my clients to say, if they're getting objections or they're not making money, they can't get a client, or they're overbooked with the wrong type of client and still not earning enough money, that is feedback. We don't need to judge it. We don't need to say, oh, my life is a mess or I'm overwhelmed right now. What we want to do is get back and say, well, if I'm getting this pain, what's it telling me? Where have I deviated from who I truly am? And the reason why I'm sharing this with you today is because I spent many years, most of my adult life, building businesses from a place of forcing, pushing, and hustle. And no matter how much success I created, inevitably it always crumbled, because you cannot sustain who you are not. You cannot continue to pretend to live a fake life, specifically be a fake version of yourself. I write about this in my most recent book, Sales Energetics, that imagine pretending for the next 24 hours that you are Donald Trump, and you're not allowed to have fun with this. You have to take it serious. You have to be convincing. You have to look, act, walk, talk, believe like Donald Trump. How are you going to feel after 24 hours of trying to convince the world that you are someone that you are not, that you are Donald Trump? Now, I'm asking you to do it for 7 days, then 30 days, 10 years, 20 years. Eventually, you will reach a point where you will forget who you are entirely, and you'll be living this imposter life, pretending to be Donald Trump. Now, you might be laughing at what I'm saying, but it's not too far from the truth. We all live fake lives to a certain extent, and that's what's costing us pain. That is what is causing the stress, the anxiety, the overwhelm, and all of these things. So the example of Donald Trump gives us a chance to visualize it, but what mask are you putting on every single day, and what are you trying to do to hold it all together? Because I noticed in my life, no matter how much success I built in my business, it would always crumble because I felt I was having to sustain something. And you cannot sustain what you are not. You see, being you is effortless. Not easy, not asking for an easy life. Easy is entitled. Easy comes from a victim mentality. It's got to be easy. Some things you want to be easy. But being you should be effortless, because you don't need to try to be you. You need to try to be anything else. Like, remember that Donald Trump example. So for me, this is what happened. I spent most of my life trying to prove that I could be successful. I don't want to go into my childhood trauma. I don't want to talk about where all this came from, not in this video. I'll talk about it in other videos. But I came to realize that investing my entire life trying to prove myself wasn't the real me. I knew the real me when I was a teenager. I remember when I was about 21, so a young adult, I remember saying to a friend of mine, when they said, what do you want? And I said, I want to have a house in the countryside. I didn't visualize a mansion. I didn't visualize being a millionaire. But all I did visualize was that I'd have this house, cottage in the countryside, in the middle of the forest. I actually grew up in a place called Norfolk in England, and it's full of countryside. And I'll have a truck, and I'll rescue dogs. I'll have 5-10 dogs running around, and that will be what my life looks like. I then spent the next 25 years of my life going in one big circle and around the houses to prove that I could be financially successful, to prove that I could build businesses, to prove that I was this entrepreneur, to prove that I was something and of value. And it's amazing how things, when you start to surrender to all of it, because I got to a point where I said I can't do this anymore. That's why I imploded a business that was doing 50 to 100,000 pounds a month revenue. It was killing me in the process. So I reached a point where I'm like, I cannot do this anymore. And I prayed to God and I said, I surrender. Whatever you want from me. You want me to go sell ice cream, I'll go sell ice cream. You want me to be a dog walker, I'll go be a dog walker. But I cannot do this anymore. I cannot continue to push and to force. And I was having hundreds of panic attacks. It just went on and on for years. And the message that I got was, well, first of all, I moved 7,000 miles away. So I live in Thailand. I've been here for the last 3 years. Hence my Thai football t-shirt here. Not that I'm into football, but I like these t-shirts. And I've done a lot of healing. A lot of people think you go to Thailand to get drunk and party, and I do not drink. And I sleep early. For me, Thailand has been a healing experience for many, many reasons. It's challenged me. I've gone through some dark stuff, some dark nights of the soul, I believe they call it. I've done a lot of shadow work to integrate fully who I am and to be proud of who I am. And I feel like so many of us we're not proud of being the real us. So we're trying to sustain. What are you trying to sustain right now in your life? Because it's in that sustaining it that you're probably just not being your truth. So I'm here to say, you don't need to become anything new. This is the cool thing. This is what consumerism teaches us. Consumerism states that we need to keep up with the Joneses. We need to become something brand new. We need that supercar. We need to live in the big house. We need to have the holidays. And don't get me wrong, you can enjoy all of those things. And I believe that God will give you everything your heart and your soul has ever desired. But it's only temporary, and you're never going to enjoy it. You're never going to feel safe. You're never going to feel calm if it's done from the wrong energy, the wrong intention. Does this make sense? Drop a comment below. Let me know if this is getting through for you today, because I feel this with you. Right? I'm pre-recording this video like all YouTube videos, but I feel this with you now. When we slow down and we say, hold on, I'm going to stop trying to prove myself, and instead I'm going to connect with myself. Let me connect with my deeper being. Who am I truthfully? And for me, once I surrendered, and it took time, this has been a process, but once I surrendered, the message that I got was that I still want to educate, I still want to help, I still love doing these sorts of videos, I still love helping my clients, I still teach sales, but I don't do it completely my ways. That's why I wrote my book, Sales Energetics, where I wrote a book previously, which allowed me, it was Confessions of a Consultant, when I talked about everything that I got wrong. Both books at the time of filming this video are not yet on Amazon, but Sales Energetics I'm putting on this week. So if you're watching this after more than a week after I filmed it, then it should be on Amazon by now. And going deeper with this and getting back to the simplicity of life. I do not now live in the countryside and have a truck, but I've learnt to love the simplicity of what I have here. With my apartment, I've got my cat, although he's in the other room because he was causing a nuisance and he's running around. And so for me, it's not about chasing anymore. It's about being in flow, because when you're in flow, you cannot get anything wrong. And when you're out of flow, you're going to feel like everything you try is going to be a struggle and not work out. I made a joke for many years that whatever decision I made to make my life better inevitably made my life worse. And for a long time, it was a joke, but it was actually something I took serious. I would beat myself up about it far too often, because I felt my life was going like this. I'd make a decision to do this. I made a decision to move to Thailand and it ended a 6-year relationship. But actually, well, I'll get to that in a moment. And then I've made other decisions to make my life better, and then my life will get worse as a result. And I think, what have I done wrong? I took a contract only in 2024, which would have been a life-changing contract, and it was amazing. I traveled all over the world for this multi-billion dollar company, and I did it because, well, a number of reasons, but one of the reasons I'm like, wow, what an opportunity to make my life better and work with this company long term. And as a result, the contracts went amazing, But I made the decision because I didn't have the same values as the directors in the company. That's all I can say. So I made the decision to walk away. And at the time I was like, oh, there I am again. I've made a decision to make my life better and I've made my life worse. And it was only at the end of 2024 when I went truly deep on this work and I stopped beating myself up and I practiced radical forgiveness. Radical forgiveness that I was doing my best. I was doing my best every single day in every decision, and you can only nobody makes a decision to make their life worse. You have to remember this. Even somebody that is in the worst place in their life, you must have the empathy, and you must have the empathy with yourself that all the decisions that you've made up until this point in your life, you did not make any decision deliberately to make your life worse. You made the best decision with your level of awareness at the time to make your life better. And it's only when you start to forgive yourself for all of those things that actually you can relax into everything happens for a reason. And who you are today is only a result of everything leading up to this point. So let's get back to the original message of this video. You do not need to become anything new in this lifetime. You don't need to push. You do not need to struggle in the way that you've been struggling. Yeah, life will give you struggle, but you don't need to struggle about your struggle. But you do need to connect. And you need to bring it all the way back to who you truly are. No deviation. And sure enough, because life isn't a straight line. And if you try and maintain, well, I've got to be me, this is who I am, well, that's not you either. That's you pretending that all the power is outside of yourself. And that you need to do all these things. You need to do yoga, you need to go to the gym, you need to, whatever it is, fill in the blank in order to qualify to be you. It shouldn't be that way. Being you is never forced. You do not need to try. Being you is effortless. So thank you so much for checking out today's video. If you've not hit the subscribe button, I appreciate every single person who subscribes to my channel, every comment. I read all the comments, and yeah, thank you for being here. Have a good one, and let me know what you've got from this video below.